Hello and welcome to our Talking Legal episodes. I'm Praveen Gautam, your trusted marketing advisor, and I am joined with our principal legal advisor, Len Watt. Great, Len, great to have you today.
Hey, Praveen, how are you? It's nice to be here again.
Yeah, beautiful. I can see a number of our viewers are watching this from Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Yes, we are on YouTube, Talking Legal. So if you are watching this right now from Facebook, and if you have missed past episodes, feel free to just jump on our YouTube channel, Talking Legal, and you will see all our past episodes. Now, Len, thank you for your time. First of all,
My
um,
pleasure.
we're talking. This is something we have been often heard by our clients and number of prospects that when you talk about legal, that's where the cost, and sometimes it's always a tricky because
Yeah.
cost doesn't mean just the money wise, but emotionally, and there's a lot of things involved.
Oh, for sure.
And the question some of our viewers are asking is whether that may be family legal or any other business legal or building and construction. The questions is, are the results worth the cost? So if you like, we can deep dive into it. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Look, I mean, Praveen, it's a very good question. It's a very interesting subject in some respects because we're talking not just about the actual physical cost of what it takes to go and have go through a court matter, but also the emotional costs. And I think that people quite often underestimate just how physically and emotionally draining it can be to be in like a litigation. So for a lawyer and for the people in the legal profession, it's where we're used to it, and we can certainly see it more from the perspective that it's work, it's what we do. Obviously it's passion, but we don't have that same draining emotional attachment. And on top of that, add to it the cost of litigation, the physical, actual cost of pursuing a litigation can be frightfully expensive, far more expensive than what
Mm.
people ever imagine.
You bet, you bet. And that's where I think some of the viewers watching this right now, they have asked this. Now, what do you mean by the results being worth the cost? Could you able to
Yeah,
shed
yeah.
some
Look,
lights here, please?
I think that sometimes it's important just to sort of think about what those results are going to be. What are you going to get from it? But what is it going to cost you? So not just in money, but also in emotional capital. So the stress and the drama that go along with litigation and are debilitating, and as is the actual physical cost. So it's important then to consider, well, are the results that I'm going to get from this particular action worth what it is actually going to cost me in so many different ways?
So what you're saying literally is the results matter. I mean, is it worth it or is it done worth it? Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not a question that a lawyer can answer, but it's a
Mm.
question we often pose to our clients. I mean, but we can't answer it for people because everybody has their own individual circumstances, and what might be appropriate for me is certainly not appropriate for you. So we'll certainly pose that question, but it's not up to us to answer it. But I mean, it's certainly something that has to be considered.
You bet. But surely, if someone has caused a loss or a big damage, then certainly we can't just sit down. We got to take some action.
Yeah. Yes, maybe, and maybe no.
I like that.
So we need to we
Right.
need to consider what we're talking about. Like I mean, look, I mean, without going into any specifics, but I mean, I in the past have seen matters where I think, wow, this is a lot of money and emotional capital being spent on something that's just not going to get or it might get a result in the end, but it's certainly not going to be worth it when you consider what's been put into it. I don't know if I can stress highly enough just how much a litigation or a dispute will cost a person or a family. in so many different ways.
Now, just curious on that note, obviously in such a long time of 30, 35 years of your continuous training, what's your what is the longest time of the case has been deal, whether that may be family or in business or building construction, anything? I'm just curious, that's all. How long does that any case has gone to
Look,
any
I mean, I've seen cases go 2-3 years, which is certainly
really?
a long time. But I mean, I don't think that we have anything on the Indian legal system, and there are cases in that particular legal system that go for decades.
Oh, really? Wow. Wow.
Yeah. The record is held in India. I think it's some phenomenal amount of time. But look, they go for a very, very long time sometimes. I mean, it's even with the idea that it's almost actively discouraged by the courts not to go to court. There is still an enormous backlog, and at all different levels: magistrates, district, supreme, the Court of Appeal, and then to the High Court, and in the family court, the backlogs are astronomical. There's a huge amount of litigation and dispute which comes before the courts every day of the week.
Which means obviously physical stress, mental stress, money wise, if it drags for more than 5, 6, 7 years or even 10 years, what you're telling, goodness, I mean, how much the stress it would be, whether for families, whether for any businesses. That must be a very, very hard. Now,
can I just say though that on average though, I mean, things don't go that long. I mean, most times, we can sort of, you can certainly get results 18 months, 2 years, depending on what happens. And sometimes the periods of inactivity are due to the parties taking a breath. So, like, it's not as if we're in the trenches every day for 2 years fighting on a particular matter. There are periods of inactivity, but these are brought about too because of the inherent delays in the system. So it's the average time is probably around a couple of years, but I don't want to make that seem like it's a day-to-day grind for 2 years. It's certainly not, but it's still quite a long time.
You bet. And again, I must highlight here, it depends upon the case by case for sure, isn't it, Len?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you can sometimes have what seem to be the most difficult matters, the most complex sets of facts, and the parties decide, well, hang on, this is just we're not going to be able to solve this easily. Let's just come to an agreement. We'll both walk away a little bit unhappy. And other times you see matters, you think, wow, this one really should settle, and 18 months later, it's still before the courts.
So if these kinds of the scenarios happen, then would you think that you just let the action go? What's your thought?
It's a decision, like I was saying before, for the individual. I mean, in commercial litigation and building construction, which is sort of my main area of focus, we quite often say to our clients that they need to make a commercial decision. What is this worth your money, time, effort, emotional capital, etc., to pursue this matter? And everybody has a different answer to that question. But the one thing that I can say is that when you hear in our profession, you sometimes hear people say it's a matter of principle. It can be that principles erode when the costs unfortunately start to mount. It's all got to be considered, and sometimes maybe that principle is not worth the cost.
I love it, and that's what I think one of the point of difference is. As a trusted legal advisor, you focus on a whole solution of the particular problem, not just as a legal solution, and that's a lot of the clients, and that's how you get a lot of referrals, and clients very, very happy with you and your team. Yeah. Now that's awesome, Len. Then somebody look, how does some of the viewers here who are watching this right now, and they were thinking, okay, how does someone then work out what should they do? Do they just go to visit the lawyer, a trusted lawyer or trusted advisor, or do they just go, walk away with the case, or what do they do, Len?
I think it's a multifaceted decision. So number one is that they need to work out that there's actually been a wrong that's been perpetrated against them, and that has caused them loss and damage. Then they need to actually sort of, figure out how much they have lost. What is it? What's the cost? And then following that, sit down and talk with your legal advisor, with your lawyer, determine what a cause of action may be that you can pursue, and find out what that cause of action is likely to cost you. And sometimes when we give estimates of cost, we can only give estimates in circumstances where everything flows the way that we believe it will flow. And then once you gather all that information, it's time to sit down with your family and and make a decision about what you're going to do.
That's a great advice. Great advice as always. Thank you, Len. Thank you so much for the great insight, and thank you for your time. Now, anything our viewers should know in considering this topic? Are the results worth the cost?
I think that they need to make sure that they understand exactly the situation that they are going to put themselves in. So try to as much as possible understand the costs, emotional, physical, to your family, to yourself, sometimes to your health, before you decide to embark upon a litigation. I mean, sometimes the circumstance is such that there is no choice, and sometimes you're not the one who's commencing the action, you're the one who's defending the action. Again, you need to sit down and evaluate the entire circumstance and make a commercial decision about whether or not it might be better just to say to the other side, hey, yes, this has happened. How about we look to see if we can settle it without going to court? Or, on other occasions, beat the drums of war, let's go to court.
Yep, totally. Okay, thanks, Len. That's a great advice. Thank you so much. So if the viewers have any specific, I know you and your team specialize on one side of Becker Watt on the building and construction, but other sides, obviously in Queensland, you focused on a family legal firm, full service family legal firms. So what the viewers are watching this right now, what if they have some issues, what is the best contact person, how would they contact you?
So there's a number of different ways. We have a 1300 at legal number. So that's 1300 at legal. Our email is info@beckerwatt.com.au. Of course, the website, www.beckerwatt.com.au. And I also believe that we're contactable via social media such as Facebook, LinkedIn, etc.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Len. That's a great advice. Thank you so much. So if you're watching this right now, by the way, guys, if you have missed some past episodes, then you can also just find out the link here just below. If you're tuning in from Facebook, you can see all the details and past episodes. Once again, thanks, Len. I'll see you in the next one.
Thanks, Praveen. Thank you very much.
Cheers, guys.